History remembers the victors, the emperors, the generals, the conquerors whose statues still stand today. But what about the ones they feared? The ones they buried, not in tombs, but in silence. Today we tell the story of a man erased from the scrolls of Rome. A man who rose from nothing, who defied the greatest empire the world had ever seen, and paid the price for it. This is the legend of the forgotten warrior. He was not born a prince. He was not born free. The world first knew him as a slave. Some say he was taken from Thrace. Others whisper he came from the mountains of Illyria. The records are unclear, perhaps intentionally. What we do know is this: Rome saw him as property. Nothing more. Dragged in chains, he was thrown into the brutal training schools of gladiators. Here, men were not taught to live, but to die. Their blood was entertainment. Their screams, a spectacle for senators and emperors. And yet, this man did not break. When they placed a sword in his hand, they expected him to fall. Instead, he fought with such fury that crowds roared his name and whispers spread through the arenas. He was more than just another gladiator. He was a storm contained within flesh. But Rome underestimated him. They thought they had shackled a beast for sport. Instead, they had forged a warrior destined to challenge the empire itself. The turning point came in whispers, in shadows, in the quiet moments between battles. The gladiators plotted escape. Many had tried before. All had failed. But this time was different. This time, he was with them. On a stormy night, armed with nothing but kitchen knives and stolen weapons, they broke free. Dozens fled into the countryside, hunted like animals. Rome expected them to scatter, to be crushed within days. But the forgotten warrior was not running. He was building. By torchlight, in hidden valleys, he called to the broken, slaves, farmers, shepherds, women who had lost everything to Roman taxes and soldiers. They gathered around him, desperate, angry, ready to fight. From a band of fugitives, an army was born. Rome laughed at first. An army of slaves? What madness! But the laughter did not last long. Raid after raid struck Roman outposts. Prison camps were emptied. Slave chains were shattered. And soon, thousands marched under his banner. He was no longer just a gladiator. He was a general, a leader, a symbol of resistance itself. The empire had awakened a nightmare. The war that followed would become one of the greatest embarrassments Rome ever suffered. Legions were sent to crush the rebellion, but they returned defeated, humiliated, broken. Time and again, the forgotten warrior outmaneuvered Rome's finest generals. He turned fields into traps, forests into fortresses. His men fought not for coin or glory, but for freedom. And that made them unstoppable. For years, Rome trembled. Whispers spread through the streets of the empire. If slaves could defy Rome, who else might rise? Senators grew afraid. Merchants feared uprisings in their villas. Even generals began to question if the empire's foundations were as unshakable as they believed. And yet, the greater the rebellion grew, the more dangerous it became for its leader. Rome could not allow him to live. Finally, Rome unleashed its full wrath. Legions upon legions, commanded by its most ruthless generals. The rebel army fought valiantly, but numbers and discipline began to wear them down. Villages burned. Thousands were slaughtered. The rebellion was dying. And then came the final stand. On a blood-soaked battlefield, surrounded on all sides, the forgotten warrior stood tall. His men knew the end had come, but they fought anyway, to the very last breath. He raised his sword against the empire one final time. Some say he cut through wave after wave of legionaries, unstoppable even in death's shadow. Others claim he vanished in the chaos, his body never found. The Romans declared victory, but they never spoke his name again. And here lies the mystery. We all know the story of Spartacus, the gladiator who defied Rome. But ancient scrolls hint at another leader, another uprising, another name, deliberately erased from the records. Why? Perhaps his defiance inspired too much hope. Perhaps Rome feared that if people remembered him, others would rise to follow his path. So they buried him, not in the ground, but in silence. His victories stripped from history, his name struck from the scrolls. And yet, legends do not die so easily. They called him forgotten. But today, we remember the warrior who rose from chains, the man who defied an empire, and the legend Rome tried to erase. Because history is written by the victors, but the truth always finds a way back.